5 days ago, the earth split open beneath his feet. He thought that was the end. Back on Earth, he grew up an orphan before becoming a Special Forces soldier. He served 5 years, but old injuries flared up, forcing him into retirement. His retirement plans were simple: just film wilderness survival videos and use his training. He wanted to turn those 5 years of scars into something useful. He was walking through rough terrain when a massive earthquake suddenly hit. In one terrifyingly clear moment, he knew he was going to die alone. Right at the bottom of a deep crevice, but then he woke up here. He saw an iron-gray sky and dead, barren soil, then a voice. Scared but cautious, a young girl was hiding the fact he was breathing. Her name was Mina, a girl who happened to be snaring local lizards. She found him half buried in the thick dust, looking completely dead. She was actually searching his pockets before she realized he was still alive. Once she knew, she dragged him to her shed at the camp's edge. She hid him under deadwood and animal hides. He slowly pieced things together. This ruined world was massive, and civilization had completely dissolved. Everything was reduced to scattered camps. The sun barely reaches the ground. Thick dust blocks the sun, and the rain falls as burning acid. Remaining humans survive at the mercy of cruel bosses who control the water. He pushes the wooden shed door open slightly, peering into the dim dusk. Not a single speck of green exists here. It is totally dead. Seriously, surviving that fall and waking up in this dead ruin makes zero sense. But his body has recovered enough that he can move around tomorrow. He has to leave soon. Mina has been sharing her meager catches with him. But in 3 days, the camp collects its tax. He cannot stay. An unregistered stowaway who cannot pay is either worked or beaten to death. Those are the only choices here. Suddenly, a branch snaps outside, freezing him. Instantly, he is right at the door, but it is only Mina returning. She moves low and careful, her face smudged with dark charcoal ash. She shuts the door quickly, gasping to see him standing right behind it. Pressing a hand to her chest, she whispers that the traps are working. In fact, they work much better than any methods she tried before. She pulls out her pouch and gently lines up her catch on the floor. 8 small brown lizards, none of them are longer than 2 fingers. Only 22 traps today, she pouts, showing her scraped and cut fingers. There was not enough time, but tomorrow she promises to set 30. Gently, he warns her not to set too many. It is too risky. Set too many, and the camp bosses will surely notice her actions. Mina nods, her pride instantly vanishing as she thinks of the tax. Even with today's catch, they are still 30 short. The tax is heavy. An adult's tax is brutally heavy, and Mina is still just a child. His 5 days of recovery here have cost her food she could not spare. She lowers her head, whispering they still need 30 more small lizards. Calmly, he tells her that if they cannot pay, he will leave. He means it. Gathering resources won't be hard once his strength returns. Feet, he will be catching bigger things than lizards now, but she looks up at him as though she had not allowed herself to consider the possibility that he would walk out of her life. Something in her face shifts, and she is suddenly pulling a wooden box out from beneath a pile of broken stones, trying to pile dried lizard meat into the tally from her own emergency rations. He makes her put them back. Those belong to her, and he reminds her, as gently as possible, that on the first day they met, she had told him this was only a transaction. The moment he was supposed to leave. She stands there with her head down, turning the hem of her shirt in her small hands, and he realizes she has no answer ready. 4 years ago, she says eventually, her sister had left to pay a different kind of tax, and Mina is simply tired of losing people. Then she remembers the turtle. She ducks under the wooden bed and fishes out a palm-sized creature, brown and plain, which her sister had given her to eat the bugs in the shed. She brings it to him like someone presenting a treasure, saying it is worth 10 small lizards, and if they add it in, they will nearly meet the tax in 3 days. The moment his fingers close around the turtle shell, a voice he has never heard before speaks inside his skull. It is calm, mechanical, and patient. It tells him that a tameable creature is detected, and a Tamer System is now binding itself to him. As it speaks, a long explanation unspools into his mind of its own accord, and only after he has finished listening does he understand what has happened. An intelligent system from a high-dimensional world, one designed to cultivate tamers, was caught in a space-time turbulence during its delivery, and by sheer coincidence, it merged with him at the moment of his transmigration. Its current permissions are low, so its functions are simple for now. He can tame animals and evolve them. As the host, he can inherit one innate ability from each beast he tames. 10 taming points are granted to him each day and reset at midnight. Evolution requires points gathered from items containing energy. An interface blooms across the inside of his eye, stats he had not known he possessed. Stamina at 3. Speed 2.6, Strength 3.2, Spirit 2.7, Lifespan 24 of 79, and that last number is the one that catches him. 79 years. He cannot help but smile before he has decided to, for someone who had been certain he was dying at the bottom of a fissure. 79 is further beyond anything he had any right to expect. She has no idea he just hit the jackpot. Seeing the smile on his face, she mistakes it for an answer. She is already packing her things, 7 small lizards back into the cloth bag, 5 dried ones out of her emergency box. A quick calculation running behind her eyes. A turtle is worth 10 lizards, 3 days left. She can manage it if she just sets a few more traps. He tells her he can stay firmly and that the turtle cannot be given away. Her face falls, and then he asks her quietly whether she would give the turtle to him instead, and the mood swings back into brightness so fast that he feels a little guilty for enjoying it. Yes, she says the turtle is hers. She tips her head to one side and starts drawing a map in the dirt of where she could set more traps to catch the still missing lizards, and while she is drawing, with his palm resting on the small turtle shell, he gives the order in his head: tame the turtle, 10 taming. His points disappear. Taming succeeds, and white light blooms from his fingers. Clear some space, he says aloud, already pulling Mina back a few steps. She spins around instantly, her hand gripping the bone spike resting at her waist. Any sudden bright glow out here usually belongs to some terrifying mutated beast. But the little turtle is only growing, its palm-sized body swelling rapidly. It quickly expands into a massive creature, over a meter wide and dark brown. Its rough shell hardens as its tiny head thickens into something pretty fierce. The rugged shell on its back looks like a solid slab of heavy stone. The system calmly announces that his level 0 land turtle has finally evolved. It is now a level 1 rock armor turtle. Mina has her weapon drawn. She is about to plunge it into its neck when he grabs her arm. Talk about absolute irony, his very first tamed beast almost killed right away. Especially since she was the very one who gave it to him. It is tamed, he tells her. It won't hurt anyone. He reaches out his hand. Through their new mental link, he feels the creature's warm, genuine affection. It crawls over, rubbing its head against his palm, just like a friendly cat. Its skin feels rough like granite. Mina stares, completely stunned, as he begins explaining. Keeping his deepest secrets hidden, he tells her he is an awakener. A rare type of human, 1 in 10,000 with a special ability. My power is to tame, he says. Intrigued, she asks him to explain further. Slowly, the actual power system of this world starts making sense to him. There are 3 distinct types of mutated humans here, starting with awakeners. 1 in 10,000, plus mutants whose strength depends on physical mutations. Finally, enhancers represent the mainstream majority who rely on external training. This camp has 0 awakeners, housing only a few enhancers and mutants. When Mina realizes his true status, her face instantly lights up with hope. But it quickly darkens, knowing someone this gifted won't stay here long. He ignores her worry and silently asks the system a crucial question. Can he inherit one of his new pet's powerful, innate abilities? The system offers him Earth Rock Thrust, and he immediately accepts. A cool sensation spreads through his mind, while warmth floods his limbs. Checking his attribute panel, he notices a massive shift in his stats. His 4 main stats have nearly doubled, and his lifespan has spiked. Going from 79 to 100 years is an incredible boost. Living for 1,000 or even 10,000 years is suddenly possible. It just takes some patience. He activates his brand new skill immediately. 10 paces away, sharp rock spikes violently erupt from the solid ground. The turtle tilts its emerald eyes, looking pretty confused by the spikes. This will be highly useful for pinning down any future enemies. Or delivering a finishing blow. He quickly checks his remaining stamina. He has 6 total activations left, but he'll limit himself to 3. Saving the rest for unexpected trouble is just the smarter play. Now he needs energy items to convert into valuable evolution points. His ultimate goal is to evolve this turtle into a legendary beast. The armored turtle needs to rise to the level of the sacred beast whose name it carries. A legendary Black Tortoise, Hyunmu, testing the name in his mouth, he decides he likes it. When Mina finally asks why he fainted in the wasteland, he's ready with his cover story. A venomous beast had bitten him, a perfect cover story, since he absolutely cannot tell her. That he actually fell through an earthquake on another world, that secret must remain his alone. She quietly asks when he is going to leave, her voice barely a whisper. In 2 days, he tells her, right away she looks like. She is about to burst into tears but is desperately holding it back, since she clearly does. Not want to be left behind, he asks if she would consider coming with him. But he also understands the weight of this choice, before her older sister left too. Pay a tax of her own, she had strictly ordered Mina to wait there for her return. If Mina abandons this old shed, she might never find her sister again. She remains silent. Jinwoo doesn't push, simply asking her to decide in 2 days, at dawn. The next morning, he is up before her, boiling compressed biscuits salvaged from the wreckage of his old bags to soften inside a pot of lizard broth. Nearby, Mina wakes slowly, blinking at the ceiling, then at the hot meal he prepared, and then quietly at him. For as long as she can remember, breakfast was always her responsibility. She has no idea how to react to someone cooking for her, so he lets her eat. In peaceful silence, she quickly recognizes the iron lunch box he hands her as an item. From the pack she almost traded away for taxes on their very first day. She had desperately wanted to hand it over but failed, and now it holds her breakfast. Jinwoo can see her struggling to find the right words, glancing at him sideways before finally giving up. Breakfast over, he announces he is joining the hunt today, and she quietly agrees, the rock armor turtle, whom Jinwoo has already started calling. Hyunmu follows them right out of the camp, keeping pace like a walking human. The creature's shell is such a perfect stone-colored camouflage that the few bystanders they pass on the outskirts do not even look twice. In fact, everyone avoids them from a distance. In a lawless wasteland like this, any person willing to approach a stranger is either desperate enough to rob them or strong enough to eat them. And let's be real, nobody around this camp is that strong. At the Rocky Hills too. The north, he sends Hyunmu off to forage. The little turtle will hunt his own food. And since they are mentally linked, he will never get lost. Jinwoo lets Mina check her traps alone while he heads in the opposite direction, tracking larger prey than mere lizards. As he walks away, she lets out a quiet, frustrated sigh, asking herself under her breath why she feels so restless today, and then slaps her own cheeks to shake it off. Jinwoo hears every word, his senses incredibly sharpened. Since receiving the inheritance, he keeps walking. If he gets too close to her now and she ultimately decides to stay, the kindness will only make the parting hurt much more. It is best to keep his distance until she decides. The hills are completely desolate, like the Gobi Desert. He cannot comprehend how anyone has managed to survive this long here. Suddenly, the distinct scrape of sliding sand catches his attention. Near a rocky wall, and after a careful scan, he spots a small lizard. Scurrying up, his military knife pierces its head before it can even move. Then, a second lizard appears right above the first, but this beast is nearly twice the size. Its skin glowing with shifting shades of red, green, and blue, as his hand closes on. His system alerts him immediately that an attainable creature has been detected. Does he wish to tame? His taming points refreshed at midnight, so he spends them. The color-changing lizard glows white in his palm, settling into a brand new shape. Tricolor lizard, as the system calls it, offering him a talent he has no hesitation inheriting, mimicry color change. When he tests it out, his skin and his clothes instantly shift to the dusty browns and yellows of the rock wall behind him. The span of a single cool breath, he waits 10 seconds, a minute, then 10 minutes. To see if there is any time limit, there does not seem to be one, but the instant he moves, the illusion fails because the color change works by refracting light off his surface, meaning any sudden motion breaks the refraction. This is a lethal assassin technique, a perfect stealth ability. He cannot help but think it is exactly what he would have wanted back on Earth. He leaves the tricolor lizard on the rock wall more or less as a temporary pet and continues searching. He finds mostly small lizards, a few venomous scorpions, and footprints at the mouths of caves suggesting rats inside. Then, after 2 long hours of total quiet, his ears catch the sound of several running footsteps. Heading his way fast, 5 years of military training take over before he has to think. He presses flat against the rock wall, activating mimicry color change and waits. Mina runs past him first. He almost fails to recognize her. For a second, not because she is running, but because a pair of long blue rabbit-like ears are sticking out of the cloth wrapped around her head. 4 men are chasing her, wooden spears and bone knives in hand, shouting that they will kill her for stealing from their traps. She shouts back without losing stride, yelling that the prey came out of her trap and they are shameless scoundrels, even running for her life. She still has enough breath to curse them. He lets the first 3 pass him. When the 4th draws level with his hiding place, he reaches out, catches his chin, and uses his running momentum to twist his head sideways into the ground. The neck gives with a quiet crack and he catches the falling body. Less than 2 seconds, talk about brutal. He is already moving after the others before the corpse hits the dirt. He stalks the next one from behind with the exact same method. The 2 remaining men realize too late that the shouting behind them has stopped, and they turn around. By then, he is only 4 meters away and closing. Mina sees him over their shoulders, and for a full beat, her face is pure confusion. She thinks they have run him down by accident and shouts for him to flee. The 2 trackers relax at the sound of that shout, thinking a yelling ally means he must be just another weak scavenger, not one of the deadly hunters they actually fear. The leader of the 2 charges with his wooden spear. He sidesteps him, closes the distance, and drives an elbow into his sternum hard enough to hear the bone break. He goes down spitting blood. Ordinary human opponents are simply no longer competitive with him. His physical fitness was already 3 times a normal person's after 5 years in the army, and the rock armor turtle's inheritance has nearly doubled that again. The man with the bone knife freezes, pale-faced, and he can see him deciding whether to run. Before he can, Mina catches up and kicks him flat. He throws his name out as quickly as he can. He is Bloodbeard's man. Bloodbeard, Mina tells him when he glances at her, is a bandit leader who preys on the small camps and tribes in this area. The foolish scout actually begins to swagger, trusting his bandit group's name alone will buy him his life, until the words "attack the camp" slip out of him by accident. He panics, realization hitting him hard. After that, it only takes a bit of pressure with the scout's own blade pressed under his chin to extract the rest. They are simple scouts, meaning an attack is coming within 3 days of this scouting run. Bloodbeard has over 500 men under him. He presses the scout on the exact. Taming extracts every piece of intelligence the man actually knows and then suddenly snaps his neck, because letting him live means he will just run straight back to warn the rest of the gang. He searches the bodies, finding only dried meat, but Mina, crouching over the final corpse, finds something she clearly has never seen before and eagerly holds it up to him. With shining excitement, a thumb-sized prismatic crystal, pale and heavily faceted. The instant his skin brushes the stone, the system speaks. Energy detected, convert to evolution points. He accepts instantly, 100 evolution points. Gained, the crystal instantly dissolves into liquid directly in his palm, soaking away. Mina stares at his hand, then the back of his hand, then his palm again, desperately trying to work out how he made it vanish. Just another awaken a trick, he tells her with a playful pinch to her cheek. She scampers off to check other bodies. For more, he finally knows exactly what those system-required energy items look like: beast crystals, harvested from deep inside dangerous, fierce beasts. Now he knows exactly what to hunt. Now, let's see how brutal this system scaling gets. Level 1 to level 2 is 10 evolution points. Level 2 to level 3 is 100. Tenfold jump. If this steep curve keeps scaling, early evolutions will be cheap, but those later levels are going to be genuinely expensive. He must definitely plan. Accordingly, he calls his tricolor lizard down from the rock wall, spending 10 points to evolve it to level 2. Its scaled body rapidly lengthens to nearly 1 meter. It now has enough strength and speed to pounce and bite an unaware enemy to death quite easily. The system also confirms that his mimicry color change has successfully synchronized to level 2. Every single evolution of a tamed beast strengthens their shared talent, which is frankly excellent news for him. Meanwhile, Mina returns with another scrap of dried meat, spots the newly enlarged lizard, and licks the corner of her mouth subconsciously. He quickly tells her it is a pet, not dinner, making her pout. He pinches her long rabbit ears without really thinking, something he wanted to try since he first laid eyes on them. She lets out a strangled, shy little noise as her face goes red, scolding him for treating her like an animal. He mumbles an apology, but the texture of those ears was honestly amazing. He makes a silent note to do it again the very next chance he gets. Suddenly, her ears twitch. She can hear the heavy footsteps of the returning rock-armored turtle. She says, surprised. He had already summoned the beast through their telepathic link, which reaches 200 or 300 meters, but Mina is picking up the sound from double that distance. He is starting to realize she is incredibly useful to keep around. When Hyunmu arrives, he decides to evolve him too. The ground seems to fold inward before he blooms outward to over 10 times his previous size. He has a head as big as a basin and a shell like a stone cabin. His stats surge again. Lifespan 260 years. Eventually, he completely stops looking at those arbitrary stats, which no longer represent anything recognizable. Mina asks if she can climb onto Hyunwoo's back. Hyunmu obliges her, pulling in the long spikes along his shell and raising a rock staircase right out of the ground, offering up 7 or 8 square meters of flat shell, complete with a natural railing of stone spikes running all along the edge. Mina cheers and scrambles up, walking around the giant turtle's back. Looking left and right, she asks, half joking, if they could just build a small house on top of him to live in. He looks at her and the railing and the giant shell, staring at that massive flat slab of a back that will only grow larger as Hyunwoo evolves. He realizes she might actually be right. Mobile home, a walking fortress. No need to find villages to stay in. No need to sleep out in the open. Once his back is large enough, he could build a cabin, a whole wooden house up there, and barely feel the motion as he carries them across the world. Mina, catching his expression, asks if he is actually considering it. Not yet, he tells her. The space is still too small, but yes. She beams, instantly listing everything she wants to bring along. A fire pit on the shell, would that not burn Hyunwoo? No, he tells her, the stones would protect him. As for the weight, not even 100 of her would feel heavy. She bounces with excitement, planning like a child who is never allowed to plan anything. He finds himself leaning back against a stone spike, quietly watching her, realizing that having someone so lively and cheerful by his side, who can hear footsteps at 500 paces, actually sounds pretty nice. She is ready to rush back to camp immediately to start moving things over. He gently reminds her about the bandits. She sticks her tongue out, embarrassed for forgetting, and suddenly goes very quiet, and then she whispers in a small voice that if it is too dangerous, they should just leave tomorrow, abandoning the camp and everyone in it. Talk about a painful choice. Her heart has finally made its choice. There is no danger for him, he says. He is only giving the camp a warning. After that, they leave, a kindness within their means. That evening, they make it back to the shed with 45 small lizards and 3 palm-sized rats. By Mina's standards, it is a legendary haul. She usually only catches 2 or 3 a day. While he sits by the fire pit, sharpening his military knife, she kneels beside him and lays her catch out in rows. She arranges them by size, happy in a way he doubts she has been in a very long time. He asks her casually if this is what she always eats. Yes, she says without looking up, mostly lizards and the occasional wild rabbit as a special treat. He asks if she has ever been full. Full, she repeats, tilting her head as she considers the question with absolute seriousness. Then she whispers that she does not even know what being full means. She has never had enough food in her entire life to find out. The whetstone in his hand suddenly feels unbearably heavy. He throws it aside. She looks up, concerned, and asks what is wrong. Nothing, he tells her, just walking around for a while. He grabs his pack, slips out of the shed, and vanishes into the shadows of the camp. He had come out tonight for 2 specific reasons: to scout for water and to warn the camp's leader about the bandits. But underneath both of those reasons is the heavy weight her confession left in his chest, and he desperately needs to walk it off. The silent camp sleeps early because no food is wasted on anyone burning energy after dark, but the thin scent of roasted meat leaks through gaps in the walls. Heavy sleeping breaths carry out of half the sheds. He moves from shadow to shadow. The camp has an inner ring and an outer ring. The outer is for taxpayers like Mina, and the inner, ringed by a wooden stone fence, holds the leader's own house and the hunting team's quarters. He scales the fence without trouble and slips past the patrols. The scent of roasted meat gets much heavier in the inner ring. The firewood burns generously here. He passes houses where sounds leak through the cracks that he does not need to describe. In a world without basic hygiene, it is something of a wonder they are not all sick. The leader's house sits at the center of the inner ring, over 400 square meters of building, the size of a small gymnasium. He walks its perimeter, activates mimicry, color change, and climbs inside through a side wall into a dim, firelit side room. From the hallway, he can hear voices, not yet close enough to place. He follows a maid carrying a clay pot down the corridor. She takes the pot into a room with 2 guards at the door, and he folds himself into the shadow of the wall, color shifting against the wood, counting maids as they pass, 7 or 8 all told. When the maid reemerges, the clay pot is full of water. Instead of taking it to the men's cups in the brightly lit hall at the end of the corridor, she cuts open the throat of a wild rabbit on the dining table and lets its blood drip down into the water. The man at the head of the table scoops the mixture directly out of the clay pot with a bowl and drinks it down. He loses interest in that particular pot of water, but he does not leave because the man at the head of the table is the camp's leader, and the free men sitting across from him are currently discussing whether they should flee. The well is failing, 10 days of water left at best. The leader warns them if they are very careful, finding a new water source out here is nearly impossible. One of the others complains. Another suggests joining the Walho tribe. They would take the whole camp in. their own people could sign on with the hunting. Team, the leader's face darkens. Instantly, he refuses. No way he goes to the Walho. Tribe, none. Over there, he would just be some minor captain serving under someone else. He has been the boss for far too long to stomach being. Below them, the three argue and grumble, but in the end give in when he promises that if no water is found within 5 days, they will all go together. They finish their meat, gulp down bowls of bloody water, and exit. He stays completely still in his corner, watching the leader watch them go, and honestly, that look spells trouble. Not good at all. Once they leave, he calls out a name, Dian, and a plain-faced young man enters the hall. The leader asks him flatly whether he met Bloodbeard's men today. Dian grits his teeth. No, he says he waited all day at the agreed hill and saw no one. The leader rises slowly from his chair. His voice drops to a whisper. Impossible. I arranged it with Bloodbeard myself. For a long moment, he studies Dian's face for any flicker of a lie. Dian does not move. Eventually, the leader reins himself in, tells Dian to go back to the hill tomorrow, and orders him to pass the word. The plan has been moved up. The attack is to come the day after. Tomorrow, once Dian leaves, the furious leader flips the heavy table with a savage roar while the young man keeps completely still in the shadows. He did not enter this camp expecting anything like this. He had only expected a foolish leader who might ignore a stranger's warning about a bandit raid, but instead this camp's leader is the exact traitor who invited Bloodbeard in. Talk about a brutal twist. The traveler remains in the darkness, listening closely as the leader mutters the rest of his plot under breath. When the bandits strike, the outer ring, Mina's side, will be slaughtered. The leader plans to fake a desperate defense of the camp before taking his hunters to surrender to Bloodbeard, trading 30 or 40 skilled fighters for a high rank in the bandit group. Bloodbeard will gain fresh warriors, and the leader will gain power. The innocent villagers will simply die. The corrupt chief mutters this aloud to the empty room, still burning with rage at the three hunting captains who challenged his authority at dinner, the ones who wanted to join the Walho tribe instead. Damn bastards, the chief growls. Why can they not just be obedient dogs? Then his twisted thoughts drift to the daughters of those three captains, and his vile plans make the hidden protagonists jaw clench. If Mina had not run into those 4 scouts earlier today, if she had not chosen to follow him, she would be trapped in that outer ring. When Bloodbeard arrived, the heavy realization settles deep in his chest. He had originally planned to warn him and leave, but plans change. Instead, he rises quietly from the darkness and starts gliding toward him. His footsteps make no sound. His shadow does not fall anywhere the firelight could betray him. He creeps up behind the chief's chair and, without rushing, rolls the embroidered towel from the armrest into a tight strip. The target is still fantasizing about those daughters when the cloth is shoved into his mouth. Welcome to hell, he whispers. The man thrashes. He is, after all, a powerful enhancer, but there is nothing in his enhanced muscles that can match the deadly grip locked around his throat. The system's passive enhancements have pushed him past ordinary enhancers several times over. He keeps his voice low. Goodbye. His neck snaps with the same sickening pop as those bandit scouts from earlier. His head slumps forward onto the wooden armrest. His eyes remain wide, staring at the exit. He will never pass through again. He drops the towel over his head. He does not bother hiding the corpse. Anyone who stumbles inside in the next few hours will assume some stealthy assassin slipped past the guards, and by then he will be long gone. From here, he will have Mina riding safely on Hyunmu's back beneath a wooden shed. Moving far away from this corrupt camp, he takes his time searching the house. Gathering up every iron dining knife scattered across the floor, he claims the long daggers and greatswords from the walls, wrapping them tightly in cloth before strapping them to his back. Inside the leader's private quarters, the luxury is hard to miss. A mattress heavy with rare beast furs, 3 wolf trophies on the wall, and a beautifully crafted blade sitting on the nightstand. Snatching the weapon, he pries open the locked bedside drawer. Inside, resting in a small box, are 7 beast crystals of different sizes. He scoops them into his palm, and the system promptly offers to absorb them. He accepts, gaining 340 evolution points, adding that to 80 points already saved. He can now easily afford 3 separate upgrades all the way to level 3. A man cannot get rich, he thinks with a faint smile without a little ill-gotten gain. When he taps the bottom of the wooden box with his finger, it rings hollow, a hidden compartment. He pries it open with the tip of his knife and finds a small cloth bag of seeds inside, vegetable seeds, in a world where almost nothing grows, where the only green things Mina has ever seen in her life are the leader's personal luxury vegetable patch. A bag of seeds is among the most valuable objects he can imagine. He ties the bag closed and tucks it into his pack. Then he keeps searching. There is more in the leader's room than he can carry out by himself. The 5 rolls of dyed cloth he finds in his wardrobe alone, each a meter long, each a different color, are enough to make dozens of sets of clothes, and he had been hoarding them in a world where nothing of this quality can be bought at any price. In the last wardrobe, he finds an unprocessed wolf pelt still raw at the edges, the match to the 3 wolf heads mounted on his wall, which means he had at least 1 tanner on staff. He rolls it up and puts it with the cloth. He will not need to worry about blankets for a long time. He calls the tricolor lizard in through the mental link. He cannot break a wall down the way Hyunmu would if he summoned him here, and he can climb any surface. While waiting for him, he looks at the bundle of loot beginning to pile up near the window and thinks that he had better evolve him tonight. He has enough evolution points. He presses his palm to his flank when he arrives and spends 100 to push him from level 2 to level 3. His body doubles in length. He is a clean 2 meters now, with his scales rearranging themselves by color rather than stripe, 1 flank green, 1 red, 1 blue, with sharp little spikes alongside his head, and a pair of brown vertical pupils that look very cold. His talent evolves with him. Mimicry color change becomes mimicry stealth, and when he tries it on himself, he finds he can hold the camouflage while moving. There is still a lag, about a second between motion and color shift, and it widens the faster he moves, but moving slowly, the lag is negligible. It is a stealth ability now in the full sense, slow and invisible, or fast and only mostly invisible. He ties the cloth, the wolf pelt, and the bundle of swords onto the tricolor lizard's back and sends him out the window. Go, he tells him, let Mina untie everything, then come back. He makes a faint hissing complaint at the indignity of being a pack animal and climbs out down the wooden wall, gouging neat claw marks into it as he goes. He needs to hurry. Sooner or later someone is going to walk into the hall and find the leader slumped in his chair. Back out into the corridor and talk about bad timing. He spots a slinking figure. He catches only his profile, but recognizes him as Yen, the plain-faced young man the leader had summoned earlier to meet with Bloodbeard scouts. He looks left, he looks right, then slips into a side room. Following him, he finds him with a maid, what turns out to be the food storage. She is berating him in a low, panicked whisper. He is stuffing meat into a cloth bag, specifically picking out the good cuts more than either of them can plausibly cover for. Yen answers her in a low growl. The leader has gone mad, he tells her. He is going to work with Bloodbeard to kill off anyone in the camp who does not obey. Yen had lied to the leader earlier when he said he saw no one at the meeting hill. All because he tried to mess with the plan, but instead of backing down, the leader just pushes the attack forward. Now Doyon is running. Tonight he shoves his maid out, telling her to pack her things as soon as she's gone. He slips silently right behind him, clamping a hand over his mouth and pressing the flat of his combat knife against his throat before he even registers him. He tries to make a sound, but the icy steel against his skin freezes him solid. Do not move, he whispers low in his ear, or you get sliced. Doyon raises both hands right away. You're a smart man, he says. Do as I say and you will get to live. Live, he nods as carefully as a man with a knife at his neck possibly can. As a reward for being clever, he promises to share one vital piece of news. Your leader had his neck snapped by me right after you walked out, he whispers. The goosebumps erupt on his arms instantly. Yes, he tells him, he was in the hall the entire time, watching everything. At that, Dolan completely gives up any idea of fighting back. Talk about terrifying. He calculates what kind of monster could assassinate their leader and stroll out of the hall completely undetected. Standing paralyzed, he allows the young man to lower his combat knife. Without resisting, he shakily asks what he wants from him. Nothing at all, he tells him, and he can feel the man practically wilt inside his own skin. He freezes, but he adds it occurs to him that Bloodbeard's scouts also met their end by his hands. Earlier today, since they didn't return, a brand new scouting party will definitely arrive tomorrow. When they do, they will find a corpse instead of the promised partnership. What? He asks, do you think Bloodbeard will do to you all then? Doyan swallows hard, his throat dry. Consider that a warning gift, he tells him. As he picks up the bag of meat Doyan was packing and heads for the door. Before stepping out, he glances back at the man, who is still standing completely paralyzed with his hands raised. He reminds him coolly that he will always be watching him, his clever friend. Then he lets the door click shut behind him. It is a terrifying threat, and yet it is also an incredible opportunity. Doyan just hasn't realized that yet. Honestly, he doesn't need him to do anything complex at all. He just wants him to make the smart play, which is organizing the camp to flee tonight. The threat is just to stop him from running alone. If Doyan fails to take the hint, he'll send a certain tricolor lizard to pay him a visit. A few claw marks on the door should make the revised message crystal clear, but he's pretty sure Doyan will understand on his own. Now, about that water he originally came for. In a side room guarded by 2 sentries, he locates the hidden underground well. Tossing a stone down the hallway to distract the first guard, he quickly knocks out the second. With a swift chop, drags him inside and yanks off the wooden well cover. He pulls up a bucket, but the water is muddy and incredibly murky. The well is nearly bone dry, just as their late leader mentioned during dinner, but along the stone wall are massive wooden barrels stacked high, all filled with pristine water. Each stands about a meter high. He casually tosses 2 of them onto his shoulders as if they were light pillows and walks right out. Meanwhile, back in his room, Doyan is still trying to process everything. Suddenly, a completely breathless maid bursts into the storage room. It's the same girl from earlier, and she gasps out the terrifying news. The leader is dead in the grand hall, his neck snapped in half. Doyan collapses back against the table in utter shock. That mysterious assassin wasn't lying. The leader really is. Leaning against the table, he thinks the mysterious stranger was not lying. The leader is. With the scout truly gone, it means Bloodbeard's lookout is dead too. That means Bloodbeard will bring his entire army once the news hits him. He panics. Doyan begins stuffing a bag with food, preparing to run. But the maid blinks, asking why they still need to run if the leader is dead. And right here, this is where the puzzle pieces finally start falling into place. That mysterious fighter did not drop all those hints for no reason. He warned Doyan that he was always watching, meaning escape was never an option. If he flees alone, he will just end up dead on some quiet road. The stranger wants him to lead the entire camp out of here. That is his price for survival. Gather the hunting captains, he orders the maid. It is a matter of life and death for everyone in this camp. She nods in fear and rushes out, leaving him alone to ponder. Meanwhile, just a few minutes earlier, Mina was kneeling inside a wooden shed. She was smoking lizard meat over the fire pit and skinning some rats. Using coarse ropes, she hung the meat high above the rising smoke. Lacking any water to wash her hands, she scrubbed the blood off with dry sand. Once the chores were finished, she found herself with nothing but her thoughts. Her eyes kept drifting toward the door, wondering why Hyunmu was taking so long. What was he actually doing out there? She tried to reassure herself. A fighter as strong as Jinwoo could not easily be caught by anyone here. Still, her hard life had not given her many reasons to feel safe. Sitting alone in the quiet shed, she could not help but expect the worst. To keep the dark thoughts away, she busied herself with packing their belongings. She mentally sorted through the few items they would take when they escaped. Her pillow, the wooden bed frame, she needed a place to sleep after all. Their wooden bowls, their simple wooden bucket, every little thing mattered. She even stared at the door, feeling quite silly for wanting it too. But her older sister had built everything in this room, piece by piece. They had lived here for years, and she hated the thought of leaving it. Suddenly, a soft scratching sound came from the other side of the door. It swung open, and a strange, blurry shape squeezed inside the small room. Mina instantly drew her sharp bone spike, ready to strike in self-defense. But the shape uncloaked into a massive, friendly tricolor lizard. She lowered her weapon, feeling pretty silly. Only Jinwoo would use a lizard courier. Unloading the cargo, she piled up 5 rolls of fine cloth. Next came a bundle of heavy swords, and the beast slipped away. Soon the creature returned with a massive bag stuffed with dried meat. Seeing a stash half her height, the young girl stood there completely speechless. Slowly she realized Jinwoo did not get these items from the camp leader. She stared at the fine dyed cloth, then at the thick wolf pelt. Finally she noticed the swords, which clearly belonged to the local hunting teams. That greedy leader would never hand over such valuable gear as a reward. This meant only one thing: Jinwoo had stolen all of this. Shaking her head, she hid the stolen goods safely underneath her wooden bed. If they survived the night, they would have to run before sunrise. Daylight meant hiding everything on Hyunwoo's back if necessary. She was in the middle of shoving the cloth bag of dried meat under the bed, rear end up, head and shoulders tucked under the mattress, when he walked in carrying 2 barrels of water and found her in exactly that posture. "What are you doing?" he asks. She jumps at his voice, bangs her head on the bedboard, and crawls out looking wronged. Then she glares at him, her cheeks puffed out, looking somewhere between offended and scandalized. "Just getting some food," he tells her casually. She notices the 2 water barrels on the ground for the first time. "Getting some," she repeats, in a tone that suggests she has now accepted the entire leader's house is probably missing its contents. "You could have told me." First, she hisses, stomping her foot. She had been working herself into knots, trying to hide the loot by herself, almost worried to death. Plans do not keep up with changes. He spreads his hands. "I had only been going for water. The leader will find out and come searching the camp," she warns him. In a whisper, "The leader is already dead," he tells her. "By me." Her blue eyes widen to their full size. She searches his face for a joke. He gives her the short version: the well, the bloody water ration, the dinner argument, Doyeon, and the quiet conversation the leader had been having with himself. After everyone had left the room, "Good kill," she says when he is done. That inhuman bug deserved worse. Her cheeks puff out in outrage, and something in his chest warms at how small and fierce she looks, which must show on his face. Because her own face quickly catches up, and she asks him what he is looking at. "Nothing," he says. "Nothing. The people in the camp will be moving tomorrow," he tells her. "Bloodbeard will come whenever his scouts relay the message. It is time to leave." Her eyes are already lit up. Then he tells her they are not going with them. They are going to stay behind for 2 more days, he tells her. Her face collapses. He explains it. With the leader's scouts dead, new scouts will arrive in about a day, and they will find the camp fled and the trail of the Walho tribe column fresh. They will rush back to Bloodbeard, who will take it as a personal betrayal and ride out with his men to chase, while the bulk of his force is on the road chasing ghosts. He tells her his base will be gutted of defenders. That is when they go. That is when they take every beast crystal he has. She is pale and gripping both of his sleeves with both of her small hands. By the time he finishes, over 500 bandits, she whispers. "One mistake and we are both dead." He wiggles a finger at her. "If my timing is right, there will not Be 500 men at the base, and if the plan falls apart, he tells her it only cost us 2 days, nothing more, just an attempt. Before dawn, someone outside is pounding on their shed door, the hunting team. They do not wait for them to open. Bloodbeard is coming, the man outside shouts through the wood. We are fleeing for refuge to the Walho tribe. Move everything you can carry. Then they are gone, moving to the next shed, so he thinks Doyon understood. Mina wakes up to the pounding and to the wolf pelt he had laid over her during the night. She notices the pelt and feels warm, which is not a feeling she has had often in the shed. She rubs a sleepy yawn out of her mouth and asks when he went to bed. Around midnight, he tells her. He had sat up by the fire pit with a charcoal in hand. He sketches a house outline on a scrap of cloth. For breakfast, dried meat stew simmers in his steel pot, releasing a rich aroma. The scent pulls her out from under her pelt like a rope. She frowns when she sees how full the iron lunchbox is that he hands her. From now on, she tells him, very seriously, with one hand on her hip and a wagging finger, that she will cook breakfast. She thinks he is wasting food, but he tells her not to worry. They have enough dried meat to eat like this for more than 20 days. She still looks like she wants to scold him, but her hands take the lunchbox anyway. Her first spoonful of hot soup goes straight into her mouth and burns her so badly. She has to fan her own face with both hands. He blows on the next spoon before she takes it. It is delicious, she says, her blue eyes narrowing into a quiet kind of contentment he has not seen in her before. It has been so long, she says, trailing off since she last had meat soup, back when her sister was still here. They would cook it on special occasions. The last time was years ago. She pinches her lips together and her eyes go misty. He reaches out and wipes the tears away from the corner of her eye with his thumb before they can fall. You can drink it whenever you want now, he tells her. She shakes her head at once. Drinking meat soup every day is too extravagant. He asks her what she usually drinks instead. Water, she says. He points out that when they cook meat soup, they get both water and soup at once. It is not really a waste. If she looks at it that way, is it not more worthwhile, he asks. She tilts her head in confusion, a little suspicious of his logic, but she does not argue, and she keeps eating, spoon by spoon, smiling until she scrapes the bottom of the lunchbox and looks guilty. She had meant to save half for dinner. She just could not stop. How does it feel to be full, he asks her gently. Comfortable, she says, and also too extravagant. It is 10 lizards worth of food at once. Do not worry about food from now on, he tells her, putting a hand on top of her head. She had saved his life, and he cannot let her go hungry. Her face goes red. She turns away and pretends to be annoyed to cover it, then sticks her chin out and informs him, with the dignity of an entire empress, that she is going to untie her headscarf to give her ears some air, and not she emphasizes not for him to touch. He nods solemnly, agreeing, and she snorts. Then shyly she asks whether they are moving on to Hyunmu's back today. Not without building a house first, he tells her. That idea completely lights her up. She bounces in place. Let us go then, she says. They can start now. Outside, they leave the shed by the less guarded edge and cross out into the wilderness to find Hyunmu. He is dozing on a hillside, so well camouflaged as rock that from any distance you would miss him entirely, and when he sees them, he lets out a wronged cry straight into his head. He is hungry, giving him a headache from the force of his mental complaint and the massive size he has reached. To feed a beast his size every day on hunted food would be a problem even for him. That is when the system, with what he could swear, is a note of passive-aggressive patience, informs him that 1 evolution point per day spent on feeding can solve a tamed beast's hunger entirely. He stares into space for a moment. You, he tells it silently, should have said so earlier. The system remains silent. He beckons Hyunmu over, presses a palm to his head, spends 100 evolution points. This pushes him to level 3, causing his Earth Rock thrust talent to evolve. It becomes Earth Rock Burst Impale. He grows, he completely surpasses his old room size. He expands nearly 100 square meters now, no longer a simple turtle. Now he is a walking stone house on 4 legs. The young man checks his stats. His lifespan rises to 420 years, though numbers barely matter anymore. He simply shrugs them off. Suddenly, Hyunmu lets out a massive roar, lifting one giant foot. He stomps down. A 1-meter rock spike erupts beneath him and blasts forward. It flies like a cannonball, completely shattering a stone wall 100 meters away. A long-range attack at last. Mina stands there frozen, and honestly, can you blame her? He pats her shoulder, noting Hyunmu finally has reach, then orders him to send them up. Communicating through their mental link, the beast lies down, raising a rock staircase for them to climb. At his full standing height, the creature is over 6 meters tall and covered in sharp spikes. Up on his back, the flat clearing has expanded tenfold. Mina eagerly runs in circles. She laughs happily. The young man unrolls a cloth containing house plans he drew last night. He shows her 2 bedrooms of 10 square meters each and a 30 square meter main hall. The central hall sits between the rooms, with a bathroom tucked in a courtyard corner. It has a waste channel draining down the shell, so no foul smell rises to the rooms. A half-meter symbolic wall lines the yard, establishing their private little zone. A gate sits at the very back. Leaning over the drawing, her face completely lights up. She is filled with a cautious, quiet joy, barely believing this home is meant for her. She asks if their future home can truly be constructed in such a magnificent way. He assures her it can. In fact, building this will actually be incredibly easy. They do not need any foundations, concrete, or steel bars since the shell acts as one. Their shared earth-rock burst impale skill makes the construction process simple. It fuses stones together directly, completely eliminating the need for any messy mortar. They just need to stack bricks along the charcoal lines drawn on Hyunwoo's back. The giant beast manipulates surrounding stone, lifting heavy slabs onto his massive shell. He stacks them neatly beside them like construction bricks, and they get to work. Mina is terrible at laying straight stones, clinging to each one with careful effort. It is clear she has never carried heavy loads before, yet she remains tireless. Once she finishes a wall standing as high as a person, he steps in. He knocks out 3 bricks to create a window, prompting her immediate protest. She worries that thieves might break in, but quickly realizes how silly that sounds. After all, they are 6 meters up on a giant moving fortress. Pretty clever, right? He playfully flicks her forehead, telling her that very few would ever dare try. By evening, the walls are halfway finished, but they still lack a roof. They need timber for the roof, and the nearby abandoned camp is full of it. They steer Hyunmu over to the edge of the camp to salvage some wood. He asks Mina if she can feel the heavy footsteps, causing her to freeze. She presses her palm to the ground in surprise, but feels absolutely nothing. The beast is perfectly suppressing his vibrations. Soon, they arrive at the abandoned camp. Shed doors hang open in the quiet ruins, leaving Mina looking down with sadness. He asks about the distance to the Walho tribe, and she replies it takes 5 or 6 days. Sad, he asks how far the Walho tribe is, and she says a 5 or 6 day walk. She whispers 10,000 people, adding she has only ever heard that number spoken and she is not even sure she believes it. 10,000, she repeats, tasting the word. She cannot imagine enough food and water for 10,000. Let us go see. If it is true, he suggests, right after dealing with Bloodbeard, she looks up with her eyes shining again. Really, she asks, and he nods, promising to go to the Walho tribe to search for her older sister. She bites her lip and nods hard. Yes. She wants to go and see if her sister is there. Good, he tells her then. The Walho tribe is their next stop after this. He grins, and for a second she looks completely dazed. A hand rises to her chest as if holding onto something, and her face flushes red again. He playfully tugs her ear before she can speak, making her yelp and swat at him. Her mood quickly returns to that familiar, bright energy they shared just a moment ago. It is easier for her and easier for both of Them back on the ground, they dismantle the old sheds. Mina targets structures owned by kids who once tried to steal her lizards. He tears them down using bare hands. His sheer strength rips structural beams clean out without needing a single tool. Now stacking the good timber alongside a massive heap of firewood right by Hyunmu's side, the beast lifts it all onto his back. Atop his shell, they place the wooden roof frame into the grooves he had previously carved into the stone walls and pile heavy stone bricks along the beams. By midnight, the roof is finished. Hyunmu melds the bricks seamlessly together. He runs a hand along the joints, feeling the solid rock flow into itself. Talk about an elite home upgrade, nothing short of a massive rock armor turtle could ever collapse it. Mina leaps down from above. She simply cannot sit still for more than 10 minutes at a stretch. Next, they pack up their meager belongings from the old shed, her pillow, her wooden bed planks, small bucket, 2 bowls, and finally, to his absolute surprise, the old wooden door itself, which she pries loose with a stubborn face so she can use it in her new bedroom as a keepsake. He does not stop her. He is doubtful they will ever see her older sister again, but if keeping those pieces of their shared shed lets her keep some connection to her, then he will let her have it. She stands inside the empty wooden shed for a long moment, clutching her pillow tight before walking away. She does not weep. She looks back 3 or 4 times as they walk away, but once they climb onto Hyunwoo's back and step inside their brand new house, she is already laughing. Again running from room to room, sniffing at the unfinished stone. Is this bedroom really hers? She asks in disbelief. Yes, he tells her, do whatever she wants with it. He builds a warm hearth in the main hall, packing fresh soil inside and adding sand for insulation, topped with a sturdy chimney leading up and out through the roof. His earth rock burst impale technique, as it turns out, is excellent for masonry. He hangs the steel pot from a simple frame and gets a hearty stew going while skewering meat to roast. The rich aroma draws her out almost instantly. Over dinner, he begins teaching her to think like a soldier. If you were a scout, he asks, how would you know when people had left a place? She ponders it deeply, her rabbit ears tangling as she thinks and finally figures it out. Footprint depth, she answers, recalling the soil patterns. Correct, she says, remembering the soil patterns she saw. He tells her that makes sense. He explains the burn state of the charcoal and the soil temperature under an old cookfire are key. Learn to read it and you can track their absence down to the hour. She nods distantly, processing the idea. Eat, he tells her, flicking her forehead to snap her back to reality. She yelps. He quickly ladles her a bowl of soup and sends her to bed. Alone again, he heads back down into the completely empty camp. His stealthy tricolor lizard patrols silently alongside him. In every empty shed, he pre-stacks firewood in the fire pits, keeping them ready to light instantly. The master plan is simple. He wants to light them right when scouts arrive. That way, the camp will look evacuated only a few hours prior. In one dusty shed, he stops dead. Cobwebs hang thick everywhere. This place has been abandoned for ages, but just as he turns, a red-tipped spider drops from the ceiling on a silk thread. He hesitates. He has 10 taming points remaining. Gently, he catches the tiny spider in his hand. He orders the system to tame it. Instantly, the creature transforms. The redback is now a red ghost spider, sporting a black body. Its face has a red mask pattern. It grants spider silk perception. He accepts it. Still, the rush of system energy feels extremely faint. His attributes barely budge, confirming that low-level tames are no longer worth it. His own body is already too strong. A level 1 spider does nothing. To test his theory, he spends 110 evolution points. He pushes the new pet all the way from level 1 straight to level 3. Perception becomes control with a 450-year lifespan. The energy flow is still incredibly weak. The lesson is clear. Only the very first tame truly matters. He got far too greedy. Still, he tests the ability. A silk thread shoots from his fingertip. whipping across the room to stick firmly to the firewood in the corner. He instantly feels its exact length and weight and runs a quick check of its properties. The silk is actually tougher than rope, and its adhesive strength is driven by an invisible network of microscopic threads. Better yet, it is completely transparent. He grins, realizing this is perfect for laying deadly traps. He sends his new pet, which is now a massive meter wide, out to the camp's outer perimeter to spin invisible threads across every single path. If scouts trip anything, it must alert him without capturing anyone. The massive spider squeaks like rubbing leather in response and quickly heads out. He chuckles, thinking of a classic superhero joke, but shakes it off. Soon, Mina finds him wandering between houses as he finishes his work. She calls his name, her soft, anxious voice revealing how frightened she was. He quickly steps out into the open, and her entire body relaxes with relief. She clings tightly to his side as they prep the last pits. Then they begin the quiet walk back. Her rabbit ears lie flat. She is genuinely terrified of the dark, it seems, so he acts. He grabs her hand without thinking and pulls her along at a trot. She smiles before she can even stop herself, squeezing his hand back. They both sleep heavily, but at 3 in the morning he slips out. Leaving Mina clutching the wolf pelt in her deep sleep, he runs through the camp, setting fire to every stacked pile of wood he prepared the night before. By dawn, the camp looks completely alive with chimney smoke and glowing fire pits. He jogs back up to Hyunmu, shrinking the flames to banked embers with a timed raid through the sheds before finally letting himself sleep for another 4 hours. The red ghost spider wakes him sometime after dawn. Someone has tripped the spider. Silk tripwire at the outer perimeter, from Hyunwoo's back far enough away that they cannot be seen. He watches 3 men climb the low hill above the camp. They are filthy, armed, and exactly the kind of men he had expected. They confer on the hilltop, and he spots their silhouettes as they split up and approach the camp from 3 sides. As each of them enters the outer edge of the settlement, each one trips over nothing and falls flat. On his face, the red ghost spider's transparent silk does its job without giving itself away. They get up, becoming far more careful, checking every shed. They return to the hilltop. One reports the charcoal has not fully burned out, noting that important things are missing, and they left in a hurry. The other 2 confirm the same across 3 separate sides of the camp. Consistent signs show they left within the last few hours. The 3 men exchange bleak looks. The leader curses, "Damn it, they actually ran. Should they chase?" One of them will, the leader decides, track the fleeing column and leave markers for Bloodbeard's main force, while the other 2 ride back to base to report. Consensus is grim. Bloodbeard has been played and will come personally. On a rock wall about 5 meters away, the tricolor lizard sits flat against the stone in full mimicry stealth, invisible. When the 2 scouts start back to the bandit base, the lizard peels off the wall and follows silently, keeping a careful distance. The red ghost spider tracks the 3rd man. Jinwoo stretches and climbs down from Hyunwoo's back. The plan, he murmurs quietly to himself, is not far off from what he expected. Half the work is done. He can continue. Mina pelts out of her bedroom a moment later with her hair a disaster and her rabbit ears stiff and upright, still clutching the wolf pelt. She almost cries to Jinwoo, "We need to run to the camp and light the wood piles." He tells her he did all that already around 3 in the morning. "Oh," she says, and her shoulders visibly deflate. Then she catches sight of her collar slipping off her shoulder, squeaks, and disappears back into her room at top speed. From inside the closed door, her voice comes out indignant. "Why," she demands, "did Jinwoo not wake her up when he went to light the fires?" "He forgot," he says, perfectly evenly, as he goes to stir the pot. She had looked so peaceful sleeping, with the pelt wrapped around her, and he did not have the heart to wake her. Her body is not enhanced the way his is. She had been going all day and night and was near her limit. He will not admit any of that to her, because watching her get Flustered is he has discovered something he enjoys. You can make breakfast today. He calls out to her through the door. She appears at the door instantly. Cheerful again, she tells him to leave it to her. When he turns back to the fire pit, he is smiling. She is very easy to read. On Hyunwoo's back while they are carried north toward Bloodbeard's base, he spends the morning carving a drawing board from a wood scrap, then another. Because Mina is going to need one, too, she comes out of the living room with a bowl of soup in her hand and asks what he is making. A drawing board, he tells her. After breakfast, they are going back to the camp briefly. She is puzzled. They had moved everything already, she says, and the real business is tracking. Bloodbeard scouts, wouldn't your sister come back someday to look for you? He asks. She freezes because the possibility has not occurred to her. She had only been thinking about going to find her sister, never about what would happen if her sister tried to come find her first. She sits down by the fire pit, rabbit ears drooping a little as she thinks, and he tells her quietly to think hard about any secret signs she and her sister had used growing up. Code, a promise, something that only the two of them would know. She lights up. After a moment, they had a knock code, she tells him, when her sister went out to catch lizards. She would leave little Mina alone in the shed, and the two of them had agreed on a pair of call signs. Mina's was long-eared rabbit, her sister's was short-eared cat. Only a matched pair open the door. Draw those. He tells her, draw a long-eared rabbit and a short-eared cat, and then draw the rest of the message around them, everything you want to tell her, between his special forces sketching training and the 2 sheets of cloth he cut off one of their rolls. He has everything they need. He settles himself on the edge of Hyunmu's shell above its head and draws out the whole camp, every shed, every footpath. Under the title he plans to hand her, Hometown. Mina crouches over her own board with charcoal in her fist and draws. She produces, as far as he can tell, a masterpiece of abstract art, a rabbit person with a long narrow face and a mouth that shows every one of her teeth, a cat person with spindly legs and 2 eyes of different sizes, a mountainous turtle with a figure standing wide, grinning on its back, and a single neat house lifted whole cloth from the blueprint he had shown her. When she proudly explains the scene to him, she says she did not wait, but went with Hyunmu to find her. If sister comes back, she should find them. The target is Hyunmu. He looks at the page and honestly cannot recover any of it from the drawing. He has to hold back a laugh because, let's be real, only some kind of deity could understand that drawing. But he figures her sister is probably never coming back, and if she does, the painting will not matter. This isn't about the painting. This is about letting Mina keep some hope. He takes both drawings, rolls them into a wooden box, and has Hyunmu walk them back to the edge of the old camp, in the empty wooden shed where Mina had lived her whole life. He stomps his foot and raises a mud spike that shatters and leaves a clean pit in the floor. He has her lower the wooden box in, then he ties a thread of spider silk around the box and runs the other end up to a stone. On the stone, he carves out the image of a bunny girl with his knife, cleanly enough that if her sister ever returns, picks it up and tugs on it, the silk will reveal the buried box. Mina hovers over his shoulder while he carves and finally asks in a small voice whether her sister will really find it. Your sister, he tells her, if she ever comes looking for you, they will tear apart every inch of this shed looking for any trace of her. That is how missing persons searches work. Her sister will find the stone. Anyone who used to live with her is bound to pick up something that looks exactly like it was carved by her sister. The carved pattern of the bunny girl is the bait. Mina looks at the stone, sitting in the middle of the empty shed, nodding uncertainly as her eyes drift toward it a couple more times. For a second, he can see the child in her, longing to take it along because it is prettier than anything she has ever owned. Trust him, he tells her with a soft pat on her shoulder. Outside, the red ghost spider drops down from the shed roof to report. The third scout, the one who had tracked the fleeing column, has been dealt with. Spider silk and Venom did the job cleanly. They head out now, the camp business finally over. What? Depends on Bloodbeard taking the bait. Hyunmu carries them toward the distant bandit base at a steady, reliable pace, while the tricolor lizard feeds him directions through their mental link. The beast follows Bloodbeard's too, returning scouts across the wilderness, trailing a few hundred meters behind them. Invisible on rock walls, whatever route those bandits decide to take, they will know. In the hall of their new house, they begin the slow work of settling in. Mina installs the old shed door as her bedroom door because she cannot bear to leave it. Behind, he shapes wood for a table. As he shaves a length of beam into legs, he can see her wanting to ask him something but not daring to. He tells her to just ask. Will their departure be too late? She asks quietly. She is afraid that because of this house, this move, and this moment of quiet, he has slowed his plan and might pay for it. He left half a day later than needed, he tells her. On purpose, if they had arrived early, Bloodbeard's men would still be at the base. He wants them out. Arriving a little late just lets them easily avoid a head-on meeting on the road. She exhales, the knot of anxiety in her small shoulders going slack. She finishes the shed door, then crisply asks him whether he has tidied his room. Nothing to tidy, he tells her. They are living at the moment. An empty stone box, no beds, no tables, no chairs, no wardrobes. She looks around and visibly deflates. What should she do then, she asks. He looks at her dirty face, her waist-length hair stiff with dust, her based skin tunic whose original color has long since been lost under grime, and then at himself, which is not much better. What they lack, he tells her, is water. She puts a hand on her hip, reminding him that she has been telling him to save water. He shakes his head. Not water for drinking, he tells her, but fresh water for washing. Her blue eyes widen. They do not even have enough to drink, she says sharply. How is there water for bathing? When was the last time she bathed? He asks, curious. 17 days ago, she says, her cheeks flushing. There had been an acid rain and she had run into it. He raises an eyebrow. That is quite daring, he says, before dropping it. Immediately, acid rain is serious. People have gone insane drinking it, and Mina clearly knows this, but he does tease her a little bit as she tells him defensively that she had bathed with her clothes on. He decides that they are going to prepare this house for rainwater catching, even though he does not know when the rain will come, but there is no other way. Catching rainwater and filtering it is a start. Acid rain cannot be drunk, she warns him seriously. She grabs his arm, warning him that hunters who drank this went completely mad and hacked at others with knives. He promises to test it first, reminding her that the water is only for bathing. He asks if she can smell the sour stench on herself. The look on her face is going to live in his memory forever. Suddenly, she bolts straight into her room, slams her door. Through the wood, he hears her protesting under her breath that she doesn't smell bad at all, that she has checked herself plenty of times, and it clearly followed by a long, silent pause and then a horrified wail. Oh boy, she wails, asking how she can smell so bad. He does not laugh out loud, showing admirable restraint. Night falls. Hyunmu stops to rest against the side of a hill. He knocks on Mina's door to tell her dinner is ready, but she refuses to come out. Her cheeks flushed even through the wood. She tells him to eat first, having no appetite. He stands at the door and wonders loudly to nobody in particular whether a 14-year-old girl could be in her rebellious phase. The door is immediately flung open. Mina appears in a fury, hands on her hips, blue eyes glaring. She snaps that she is not rebellious, and he just playfully agrees with her. And for a moment, he feels like he is raising a daughter. He gently flicks her forehead and waves her out to the hall to come eat dinner. She takes a step out and stops, blinking. At some point during the afternoon, he had finished making the table, 4 benches, a hanging rack for the steel pot, and in the corner, a half-human tall wooden bathtub, built with planks fused by spider silk. At the seams, enough to hold 10 of her, all while she was busy in her room. She touches the tabletop and marvels at how smooth it is, wondering how he made all this. Today, he answers that it was easy, since his current strength means he can peel a plank off a beam in one stroke, whereas before he would have shaved it all. Afternoon, she dashes over to stare at the bathtub, admiring its capacity and its emptiness and promise. When she sighs that there is no water, he tells her to wait for rain, after dinner before she slips. Off to her room, he pulls out a drawing board and hands her the painting he made on the turtle back that morning, warning her not to smudge it. She takes it carefully and turns it toward her, and her entire face freezes, her blue eyes go wide, and her mouth opens in shock. He had drawn every house of the camp, every alley, every rough path, and the surrounding terrain. Painted hills at dusk, with the word hometown written in the corner as the title. Her nose turns red, her eyes glassy as she whispers how beautiful it is. It's hometown, he tells her, patting her head before stepping outside to give her some space. Out in the yard, he leans on the stone wall, staring into the dark. On a cloudy, moonless night here, the world basically ends just a meter from his face. He stands there thinking about how he even ended up in this strange world in the first place. Still remembering his orphan days, the massive fisher, and that one brave girl. The girl who found him face down in the dust and decided to save a total stranger. He thinks of her trust after knowing him for less than 2 weeks. She willingly abandoned the only home she ever knew just to follow him, and he realizes the least he can do in return is protect the few beautiful things she has left. Suddenly, a wolf howls deep within the hills, and he spots white dots flashing in the dark. They flicker against the black, looking exactly like stars drifting across a heavy curtain. Mina calls out to Hyunmu from the doorway, her voice urgent and hoarse. "Get inside, quickly." Puzzled, Hyunmu turns and walks toward her. She rushes out to meet him, her face completely pale. Her eyes are still red from painting. She grabs him by the arm, pulls him inside, and slams the door. She hurries straight to the fire pit, damping the flames down to a tiny, faint glow. Moon wolves. She warns him are a dangerous pack of fierce beasts. They hunt by firelight. Hyunmu stomps his foot once. Hyunmu's warning roar suddenly rolls out into the dark night. It is a low, heavy, earth-shaking growl powerful enough to fold a hill. The moon. Wolves answer with a harsh, short yip far off. It is a sound he has learned to translate as a threat to just wait. Soon, their eerie howls fade away. The eerie sounds drift further and further into the distance until they are completely gone. They are already gone, Hyunmu confirms. Hyunmu had warned them in his own beastly dialect. To get out of his territory, relieved, Mina reignites the fire, but then she pales. She remembers the painting and bolts to the table, seeing it safe where Hyunmu left it. She finally relaxes. "Help me hang it," she asks him, holding the piece carefully. Hyunmu nods. Inside her room, he drives 2 narrow spider silk hooks right into the stone wall. Over her bed, and they mount the cloth. She stands back, staring in absolute awe. You can practically see her entire personality captured inside that simple cloth now. The next morning, thunder rolls across a sky where he has never heard thunder before. Although the sky remains hazy, rolling black clouds now fill the heavy, dark horizon. Honestly, looking up at that massive, endless sky would make anyone feel totally microscopic. Mina runs out of her room, hair messy and wild, finding him busy working in the yard. He is reshaping the entire courtyard with Hyunwoo's help, carving out a long, gentle slope with bathtubs sunk at the bottom so the rain will pool inside them. She rolls up her sleeves, asking how she can help. "Get breakfast ready," Hyunmu tells her. "And pack up some charcoal because they will need it later." Meanwhile, he draws up wood. Spider silk pressed into the seams keeps them completely watertight. He finishes 3 new bathtubs in just an hour. Then, the pouring rain finally breaks. It comes down in a thick sheet, each sting of the droplets sharp. It is not acid rain. But Hyunmu still would not want to stand in it. Hyunwoo stops moving entirely, tucking his head and limbs into his shell since he hates moving during storms. Hyunwoo removes the bathroom roof with a precise slice, leaving an open square above. Mina stares out at the heavy downpour with an excitement she is trying to hide. He tells her to go take a bath in there under the pouring rain. The open roof will let the clean water fall right on her. Blushing, she hurries inside. He pulls the stone roof off, splitting it cleanly so he can easily seal it back up later. Then he strips his own shirt off and walks out to wash himself in the open yard. 30 minutes later, she emerges clean, shivering slightly from the cold rain. Her wet hair is dripping, her skin flushed, while Jinwoo sits by the fire pit. He holds up a simple, sleeveless, round-neck robe he crafted from their fabric. As it turns out, strong spider silk makes excellent sewing thread. He folded the cloth, cut holes for her head and arms, and stitched the sides. Handing it over, he tells her to put the clothes on. She holds up the robe in total confusion, forcing him to explain how it works. The middle hole is for her head. He realizes she will definitely need more clothes. He must sew another soon, because wearing wet clothes is a miserable experience. Starting to cling to them, if Mina catches a fever in this wild world, it will end badly. No modern medicine exists here, nor any familiar herbs, leaving only her own immune system. When she steps back out, she is wearing the robe and clearly thinks it looks ridiculous on her. She calls out to Jinwoo, saying the dress is strange, making him stop and stare. The difference is absolutely astonishing. Under all that dust and the charcoal ash in the beast skin tunic, there lay a girl with clear fair skin, a delicate melon seed-shaped face, waist-length aqua blue hair, and startlingly large blue eyes, and rabbit ears a shade bluer than her eyes. She looks as gentle as water. Jinwoo realizes he has been staring, so he quickly collects himself and tells her the robe is quite pretty, before pouring her some hot soup and telling her to sit by the fire and warm up on the other side of this mountain range. Though the young man does not know it yet, Bloodbeard and his men are also caught in the rain. Jinwoo finds this out from the red ghost spider, which has been tracking them, and whose mental feedback reaches him during the storm with an urgent clarity. They are on the other side of this ridge, dangerously close. Talk about bad timing, of all coincidences, he had calculated to pass them at noon, but never expected the two parties to be camped on opposite slopes of the same ridge. Mina asks what is wrong from her seat, so he points and says Bloodbeard is on the other side of the mountain. She frowns, asking if he will find them, but Jinwoo reassures her not in this heavy rain. He says they have no reason to cross, sensing she wants to beg him not to go. He heads her off with a quick demonstration. He activates his mimicry skill, hardening rather than his usual mimicry stealth, and lets his body quietly fade into the room behind him. Her eyes go so wide he cannot help but laugh. She stretches her hand out to where he had been, catching empty air until he gently grabs her wrist. He whispers, asking if she is relieved now, but she immediately begs to come along. Looking small and hopeful, he says no and playfully flicks her forehead. He can protect one person, but two is just an accident waiting to happen. Besides, he has the tricolor lizard carrying cargo and needs someone he trusts too. Stay behind and guard the house, she argues, asking why Hyunmu cannot guard it. Instead, he can, Jinwoo replies, but he wants someone at the door to meet him when he comes back, wanting to know she will be waiting. She accepts this with a pout. He tells her she won't be idle, as she is going to sew clothes. She asks how. To show her, Jinwoo pulls over the camouflage uniform drying by the fire and walks her through, measuring, marking, and turning the cloth inside out so the stitching goes inward. He tells her to sew a few sleeveless robes, identical to his own, adding with a deadpan face that she should also sew some underwear, because it is actually essential. She glares at him with an expression of absolute betrayal. Jinwoo hurriedly promises to draw some diagrams, telling her she just needs to match the symbols and sew the corresponding edges. In the end, he only understands half of sewing himself, but with a working garment in front of them to copy and spider silk making a decent thread, he can grind a bone needle for her while the rain lasts. The storm finally clears an hour later. By late afternoon, Hyunmu carries them within reach of Bloodbeard's main camp. and they stop on a low ridge about 1 kilometer out. Jinwoo puts on his dried camouflage uniform, slings the waterproof pack over his shoulder, and checks his gear. With a knife at his hip, he notices Mina watching him with worried, anxious eyes. He warns her not to open the door for anyone, even that tricolor lizard. Even if it returns carrying cargo, only open for 1 long and 2 short knocks. He taps the wood so she remembers before gently tugging her ears for good luck. Her soft voice calls out to him just as he slips halfway through the door. She promises to stay awake until he returns, but he only catches the first half. Had he actually heard the rest, he might not have walked away so quickly. Slipping out from Hyunwoo's massive shadow, he climbs down into the growing dusk. By the time he reaches the outskirts of the bandit camp, night has fully fallen. Mud clings to his boots as patrolling torches wink across the distant rocks. He searches the outer ring from a low rise, scanning the area for a perfect angle. A sudden click, a stone lands right at his feet, but he does not flinch. No threat, his red ghost spider waiting in the rocks tells him he is perfectly safe. If the intruder had reached for a weapon, the spider would have cocooned them instantly. Instead, a mysterious figure in a black hooded cloak steps out from the shadows. Her voice is cool and apologetic as she explains she did not mean to offend. She only wanted to grab his attention, but he's not letting his guard down. She asks if he is a bounty hunter taking on the Walho tribe mission. He refuses to answer, prompting her to quickly suggest they work together as allies. A cold refusal. He never works with anyone who hides their face. She persists, offering a map of the bandit camp. That actually makes him pause. Curious, he asks why she would ever want to team up with a stranger. With a smug smile, she claims she can easily spot a truly strong fighter. He points out she does not even know him, so how could she tell? She notes that a typical bandit would never dress as clean as he does. Walking alone in the wilderness after a heavy storm proves he is capable. Though her logic is pretty flawed, she is not entirely wrong. He lets her continue. She warns him that even if Bloodbeard has left, sneaking inside is no joke. By working together, she promises they can easily secure Bloodbeard's legendary crystal fish. Wait, a crystal fish? He asks what that even is. She freezes in her tracks, suddenly realizing that he is not a hunter. Sent by the Walho tribe, her voice lifts in genuine shock and surprise. He lets her jump to her own conclusions, telling her things are as they seem. He simply shrugs, prompting her to demand what his ultimate goal is. He throws the question right back at her, earning a quiet whisper of frustration. Her disappointment is obvious since he completely refuses to take any of her bait. He tells her flat out that if she wants info, she must show her face. She murmurs that he might be terrified, but he remains completely unfazed by it. They will only know after looking, he says, but she simply shakes her head. Before turning to leave, she shares that the bandit base is shaped like a crescent. The middle hill stands highest at 150 meters, hiding Bloodbeard's home. With that, her dark cloak melts back into the night. Pretty interesting, he thinks. But he is not fooled. He knows she just wants him to make a noisy distraction. A clever plan, too bad for her. She is completely out of luck tonight. He goes alone.